name is Minerva. She's the flower of the flower.
It's always important to keep a good head on your shoulders. Hey, everybody. I am Aaron Lopresti. This is Aaron Live. It is December 1st, 2024. We're in the last month, the very last month of 2024. And it seemed like just yesterday we were just starting 2024. So we're all going to be a year older, including myself. And it's nothing that I'm too excited about. But time waits for no one, passes you by. Daffy Duck sang that in a song. He said, time waits for no one, passes you by. That was terrible. At least I can still do Kirk. You guys might notice that I got a little, I'm going like full beard here in support of Billy Tucci, but man, I am gray and I already look older than I actually am. So I'm sort of like questioning whether I should go through with this and grow this thing out. I'd seriously look like an old man. So maybe I don't know if I'm going to last till January 1st or not. It may be just too much gray to handle. We'll see. We'll see as time goes on. You'll notice I have donned the Wraith of God beanie because it is winter time around here and it's getting cold. So I'll be wearing this all the time now instead of the baseball cap. So remember when I used to wear the Newsy cap? I should go back to that a little bit, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll mix it up. You know, a little diversity in a good way. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining me. Let's take a look and see who's here today, shall we? Stealth X5 is here, but you know, Stealth wasn't the first one in the door. Quorum actually was. Although being first, you get nothing, but I do. So thank you for your support. Barbara Paulson says, hey, Aaron, give us nice warm comic book thoughts. We are freezing here. Freezing here as well. Sequential Treasures says, meat is a drink, not a person. It happens to be both, at least in terms of today's show. Robert the Bruce is joining us. Creative Faye. She says, hello, free from Kit Carter. Did you get plenty of rest over the weekend? No. We had, my kids were here and our grand baby was here for like 2.5 days or 3 days or something. So we were, my back's killing me from lifting that kid. He's like 20 some pounds now. Anyway, I'm not complaining. We loved having him over, had a great time. But yeah, wasn't doing a lot of sleeping. And it all started because I slow cooked my turkey, and that doesn't sound very good. But my mom came up and said that she found this recipe where, you know, it was like 12 hours to cook the turkey. So I looked at it and I was like, you put the turkey in at 180 degrees, right? And you cover it and put like broth in the bottom, I guess, to kind of help create some steam effect. But 180 degrees, I was like, that's what it is in Phoenix most of the time. I mean, that's not that hot, at least for cooking food anyway. So I had to put it in at midnight, to sort of time it. And so I stayed up. I didn't get to bed till 1 a.m. the night before we actually celebrated Thanksgiving. So anyway, there you go. So I'm not even sure why he was even talking about that. Oh, did I get any sleep? No, not much. But I'm getting back into I was in this situation where I was going to bed early, like at 10:30, and then getting up at 7:30 or something, and thinking I could get more work done. But I tend to get more work done late at night, and so I'm kind of back now that I'm back to drawing again and not packaging up books to ship. Now I'm starting to get back into that staying up late, getting up late kind of thing. So I don't know. Lewis Bright Raven is here. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada. If Aaron shaved his beard, he could play the Silver Surfer. Oh man, that's freaking hilarious.
Boo!
Yeah, let's work on those jokes, Randy. Lewis is questioning why I'm starting a half hour early. Dude, we've been doing 3:30 for months, like almost a year. I've been at the 3:30 time slot now. Andy Dalliff is here. Toshiro, your artwork is done. I'll be shipping it out tomorrow. Henry Jeremic, Aaron, how the heck are you? I am good, thanks. Mark Pengren, hope Shelly is feeling better, and thank you. She's getting there. Of course, anytime we spend time with the baby, the grandbaby, there's a lot of picking up and carrying a pretty hefty child around. So that sort of wears her out, but she is doing better. Thank you. Hopefully we'll be returning to the show soon. Tim F is here. Eric Wart, Fox Mulder's joining us. Dale A. It promises nothing and delivers even less. That is so true. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, says, hail, I got my beautiful hardcover Kit Carter book yesterday. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Marcus, for backing. Thank everybody for backing. And I'm surprised that people are still just getting their books. Oh, that's right. Marcus, you left town, didn't you? And then it arrived when you were gone and then you came back. So that's what that was. Stealth X5 for $2. Hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate the hello. Yeah, I feel bad for our friends in Canada. The people the Canadian people that I shipped earlier to before the strike, of course, all got their books, but there's probably 20 some Canadian orders, maybe 30, sitting in a postal hub someplace waiting for that strike to get over with. And I feel really bad about that, but ain't nothing I can do, folks. So hopefully that'll get resolved quickly. In fact, I bought a comic book on eBay from a Canadian dude, and it ain't here yet. And this was weeks ago because there it sits, waiting for the postal strike to get over. So, Pity Ma's here. Says she loves Kit Carter. Thank you, Pity Ma. Appreciate that. Spaceman. Hopes we all had a good Thanksgiving. Indeed, we did. Thank you. Hidden Hand Media is here. What Geeks Do Network. Hail, everyone. Show Me Comics is joining us. John Porton, Passmaster Dan, Michelle Bowers. Michelle Bowers had a couple of orders off of my website, and those have all shipped out. So thank you, Michelle, for those. Appreciate that. Squeaky's here, along with Geek Avenger, I'm sure. There's the Geek Easy, not to be confused with the Geek Avenger. Let's see who else is here. Howler 6480 joining us. Caleb Reynolds. Critical Blast. Got my Kit Carter and loving it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Terror Movie Trailers is joining us. There's Geek Avenger. What else we got here? I'm just strolling through the chat. Amanda B. She says, hashtag blame Canada. Indeed, I will. Spaceman says, I got my Kit Cutter soft cover and it is awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you. Halder says he got his Kit Carter before the Canadian Postal Strike. So you were one of the lucky ones. All right. I think I've covered everyone that's joining us so far. So I appreciate that very much. All you guys being in attendance. I couldn't do the show without you, of course. But let's take a moment for this public service announcement, if you don't mind. Frankenstein never goes out of season, by the way. But yeah, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It helps this channel grow, or at least that's what I'm told. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I really packed features and featurettes into the show. But first, let's take a look at a couple things. One of them is, of course, my campaign, which I have to plug. That's part of the thing. Look at this. 70,987. We're like one backer away from 71,000. Somebody push me over the top on this show that hasn't ordered yet. Come on, let's do it. 46 backers away from 1,000. $9,000 away from the next stretch goal. There's so much in front of us. Let's get there, shall we? What are we looking at here? This is the Wraith and Esther head to the northeast, the chilly northeast, and face off with the Headless Horseman. Now, this is an entity, shall we say, that the Wraith encountered 20 years earlier in his youth. And so it's a revisitation, if you will, of terror, a revisitation of terror. So anyway, you do not want to miss this one. It's got some backstory in it. It's got some little origin tidbits in it that kind of flesh out what we already know from Wraith of God 1. And just a lot of good, creepy fun with this one. So you don't want to miss it. You have 4 cover options. This is cover A. This, of course, is cover B. This is the EC Comics tribute cover, for those of you who dig your comics from the 50s. This, of course, is the 1972 Marvel Retro box cover. My favorite. I don't know why. It's not an effective use of space for, cover art, but I always liked these. I always like these nice box covers. And then, of course, the great painted cover by Chris Stevens, which may be the best selling of all the covers, and deservedly so. There's that David Williams backup story that hopefully we'll get if we get to 100,000. Let's face it, kids, this campaign is not blowing up like the previous 2 did. So should I take it personal? Could it be the economy? Could this be all Joe Biden's fault? We'll see. We'll see when Trump gets in office if things change. But hopefully we'll get to 100,000 and we'll be able to include this David Williams story, because what he's done so far looks really, really cool. Here's where we're at in the stretch goals right now. The Loprestiverse Retro editorial page with character value stamp. Now, if you remember, in the very first Wraith of God, we had these value stamps. I got what am I doing? There it is. That was our good buddy Eon Chance. That was the very first value stamp. And then Wraith of God Blood Hunters. We had the Wraith value stamp. It's kind of interesting. Why would Eon Chance be the #1 card instead of the Wraith? But if you've read this you might be sort of get an indication of maybe why that is. Anyway, so that's the first stretch goal. So you'll get one of those in this book. 60,000 has been hit. So every backer receives an all new sculpture from the Nightclub trading card. And again, if you've read Blood Hunters and you've read the Nightclub story in there, you know who Sculpture is. And then at 80,000, we'll get an all new trunk trading card. That's the elephant guy from the Nightclub as well. And then, of course, if we get to that magical 100,000, the David Williams story will then be added to the book as a bonus feature. You can also get the Wraith of God Nouveau print, signed and numbered, limited to 500. So I think the original art was on the campaign and is already sold for that. Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3. This is layouts. All the 48 pages of layouts to the graphic novel. You can get a shot glass. This campaign shot glass is the Nightclub. So we've had Wraith of God, we've had Garbage Man, we've had Kit Carter, and now we'll have the Nightclub. It's going to be eventually a 6 shot glass set, so you'll want to collect all of them. You can get the commemorative clay poker chip set of 3, Wraith, Esther, and Dale Keown's Werewolf, and of course you can get back issues. If you missed those, I'm going to be putting some more original artwork up, and probably some t-shirts too. I think people have been asking me about the Keown Werewolf t-shirt. I may put that up again, do another run on those, as well as the Bisley cover from Blood Hunters as a t-shirt, which would probably be pretty darn cool as well. So all those things will be available soon, and you'll find the link in the description of this video if you'd like to support this campaign. Appreciate it very much. Now, there's one other thing I want to make people aware of, if I may. I have a website, a pretty cool website, actually. Let's take a look. There it is. And so the very first thing you see when you go to aaronlopresti.com is Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow. So you go to that shop now button there, and it'll take you right to the campaign. But what I wanted to show you was the store. So I'm exploiting that Keown werewolf piece as much as I can. There is a store, and this store continues to add items. So if you hit the old shop now button there, so it'll take you to the web store. Okay, so this is kind of just like the frontis page for the web store. But if you go up here where it says store, all products or prints or books. Now there'll also be a merchandise tab in there very shortly for where I'll put the hats and the shot glasses. But anyway, so here's all the books you can get right now. We ship immediately when these orders are put in. You can get the Wraith of God second printing, Blood Hunters cover A, Blood Hunters cover C, the Garbage Man trade paperback, Blood Hunters cover D, that's the Bisley cover, Power Cube trade paperback. Kit Carter is now on the website. And I feel bad for those of you that are in Canada still waiting for your books to arrive. But everything's fulfilled on my end. So the books have gone up on my website, what I have left over. And they're a little bit more expensive, $5 more expensive, but that's what you get for not backing the campaign. But you can still get these. If you have missed out on Kit Carter, they're right there. This is Blood Hunters cover number B. And then the second printing black and white variant of the first issue. There's still some Kit Carter hardcovers left. Not a ton, but some. The Studio Stories pinup portfolio. And then, of course, the Kit Carter sketchbook. We have several of those left as well. Saved from the Trash sketchbook. My Phantom Lady cover for the big Overstreet comic book price guide edition. That's the really huge volume with the big print type for us old people. And then, of course, the 3 witches I did for EC Comics 2 years ago on the regular size price guide. And so anyway, there's all the books are listed. Then you can go to prints, and then we have all these different prints available, including the Planet Doom movie poster. If you didn't order it, you can still get it. This is like my favorite all time, is this Rosie the Riveteer right there. We can do it, folks. Love it. And we got some Kit Carter stuff, Wraith, Garbage Man, Freya of the Ice Kingdom, which I still haven't done a story for her yet, but I'm hoping eventually. And so anyway, that's the store. It's like I said, it'll be expanding to include the hats, the shot glasses, all that kind of stuff. But you just go to aaronlopresti.com and you can check all this stuff out. And like I said, if you're behind and you didn't back Wraith of God or you didn't back Kit Carter, you can get those issues right off the website. So there you go. And you'll find a link in the description of this video that'll take you right there. So that's what I'm pushing on my website. And actually it does pretty well. It's doing pretty well. Eventually it's get away from everybody else and just be completely self-sufficient. And that's kind of what I'm going for there. Let's see here. Geek Avengers says Kit Carter is pretty awesome. Robert Doan's Pills has arrived, so let the show begin. Geek View Tavern, I loved Kit Carter. Great job, Aaron. That, of course, is Wavy Dave Ulbrich, who I should have on this show very soon so we can talk about the good old days at Malibu. I love my good buddy Dave. He's a jolly old soul, and I will have him on. Dave, you got to come on. Let's see here. Geek Avenger speaks truth. Aaron is one of the most reliable creators in CG. His turn is excellent, and so is his quality. Thank you, Geek. I appreciate that. Randy Hill says, blame Trudeau. I would gladly do that. KLA, exactly. Can Canada shut down their postal service? What you going to do? Now, see, if that was in the United States, that's illegal. Government agencies cannot strike. And so I would think, as important as the mail service is, they would get that thing taken care of. But apparently it's not taken care of yet. Stealth X5 says, I just placed an order. Thank you, Stealth. You know what? That order you just placed will go out tomorrow. Entity is here. Dave says, I'd love to do your show. Okay, Dave, let's do it next week. Let's do it next week, Dave. I'll be in touch. Dave and I enjoy talking about the good old days at Malibu. The other thing Dave and I enjoy talking about is trying to figure out how you can actually make money in comics. And we've been trying to figure that out for 30 years and still haven't figured it out. But when we do, we're going to let you guys know. So anyway, there you go. Nicholas Gear loved Malibu. We all loved Malibu. It didn't last long enough, though, that's for sure. Okay, so I've got all sorts of stuff to do. And so let's get this show rolling now that we're past all the commercial interruptions. I think it's time to look at today's Frazetta piece. So watch your monitors, please. I kind of like that piece. It's nice and dramatic. The guy's got too many abs, but that's okay. It's all good fun. And once again, another sort of obscure book. The piece itself is not obscure, but that book, I mean, who knew, right? Flashing Swords #1, which I believe is an anthology of just, heroic adventure. And yeah, I just, Frazetta's got his unique style and his unique approach, and it's always dynamic and interesting. And then you got to give the guy credit for that. And he doesn't get He does within collectors circles, right? He does within, the movie industry and the comic book industry, sci-fi industry, whatever that actually is. He gets his due, but outside in like the world of illustration or fine arts, they're still kind of snobbish about Frazetta. But like if you pick up like a book on just American illustrators, which I actually have, there's a section in there on Frazetta, but it's like, and it's a little bigger than some of the other people, but not as deserving as you would think for his contribution. But a lot of people until just recently, really, when we had the explosion of fantasy films and superhero films and stuff, where this stuff is sort of in pop culture been more legitimized recently, Frank just didn't get the respect he deserved, in my opinion. But we're trying to give it to him every day here on this show. All right. So that's Frazetta. Always consistently great, in my opinion. Marcus Killigrew says Flashing Swords is a little, I think there's some innuendo going on there. Randy Howell demands that the math makes sense. You got 61 likes, but there's 103 people watching. Actually, there's more than that watching because we got all the people on Twitter who are watching. Problem is they can't like it because they're not watching on YouTube. But hey, there's Eric Boyd. Terror Movie Trailer says, I found Frank Frazetta in the early 90s via his trading card set. I discovered him as a wee lad in the very early 70s and was just a major influence ever since. Okay. That's the expected, but now let's do the unexpected. Now, here's something. Here's a little feature I haven't done in quite some time, but I thought, you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's give the show a breath of fresh air, perhaps. Even though it's something I've done before, I haven't done it in a while. So let's do this. Yeah, fun stuff from the 70s. Why not? Actually, this dates back to the 60s, but I didn't get it till the 70s. So, we're going to do a little cheating here. I got a couple photos here to show you. Now, how many of you have this? Now, I have this Green Ghost game, and it came in this box. My box isn't dirty like this, though. I actually took better care of my box than this guy did. But it's interesting. The Green Ghost game from Transogram. Whatever happened to good old Transogram? We used to have a JCPenney, or was it Montgomery Ward outlet store, right? So what you would do was you'd get these catalogs, like the Christmas catalogs, every year from like a Montgomery Ward, JCPenney, and they'd have all this stuff in it, right? But not necessarily all of it was in the store. And so what you would do is make a catalog order from the catalog, and then it would show up at this little outlet store, right? And so when my parents got me the Green Ghost game when I was a wee lad of probably 6 years old, which would have been about 1970, this shipped in from the catalog. Now, so I didn't get the box that has like the art on it or the photograph, which we'll see. We'll take a look at that in a minute. I got this. Now it was the same game on the inside, but this was the box it came in. And so this has got to be like the catalog order box. Indeed, Monkey Ward's. Now, I worked at Montgomery Ward's in the camera department for a year, and the first thing they tell you when they're training you is, do not call this store Monkey Ward's. It's Montgomery Ward. So we would get in trouble if we called it Monkey Ward's. My dad always called, let's go to Monkey Ward's. We knew what he was talking about. Okay. So this is the box that I didn't get. I'm kind of bitter about it, actually, but I was just happy to have the game. Now, I still have the game. Which is pretty amazing. Now, here's how it works. You have like these, the haunted house, that's a shipwreck, and the ghostly tree, and you've got like these moving pieces, and you got these keys, and then you got all these this stuff. So these cardboard boxes here would go underneath these trap doors, okay? And each one of these keys would open one of the trap doors, right? You got a circle, a square, and a triangle. But then there's like a hexagon or something, a fake key that if you got stuck with it, didn't open anything, right? So you had to trade that key to get a key that actually would help. So you would move around. You'd pick one of your figures to move around. The black cat, the bat was always my favorite. The vulture or the mouse. Like, who wants the mouse? That's what mouse. That's not even scary. Shouldn't it have been like a pumpkin or something, or like a skeleton head, or I don't know. But anyway, so you move around the board, and the object is the green ghost is looking for all. Apparently, it's a female ghost because she's looking for her kids. You see the little green guys here; these are all her kids. And you split those guys up and put them in these boxes here underneath these trap doors. Now, in each one of these boxes, there's bones, snakes, or slime. Now, what the game came with was these little plastic, see these little black plastic things here? These were the bones. And so you put them in one box. The feathers were the slime, and they actually felt like slime, which is kind of funny. They would go in another. And then in this third one were rubber bands, and they would be the snakes. Okay. The problem with the rubber bands is after time, they dry up and they get brittle. So I have the feathers, I have the bones, but I had to replace the rubber bands. So we have fresher rubber bands in our game. So anyway, you spin this, the green ghost, and it'll tell you how many to move, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you move around the board until you land on where you're supposed to open up the door and get, one of the little ghosts out of there. And the person who collects the most ghosts, at the end of the game, you put all your ghosts on this wheel, right? And you just remember, like, okay, I have ghosts 3 through 5 or whatever. And you spin the thing. And if the ghost ends up pointing at one of the kids that you recovered, then you win the game. So the more you recover, the better odds are that you will, get pointed to. So what's the, other than just being a monster thing, which is cool. Let me show you what this looks like assembled. There you go. See, look at that cool artwork on the board. I didn't get that on my box. I got this up here. It had the white here, but it didn't have the artwork on here. But anyway, that's what it looks like when it's all assembled. Okay. You say, why is it all green like that, Aaron? Well, because the fun with playing this game is it glows in the dark. Yeah, there it is. Kind of hard to play in the dark, even when it's glowing, but that was kind of the neat thing about it, right? See, the ghost eyes glow, the finger glows, the numbers glow, the little, I don't think the little kid ghosts glow, which I couldn't quite figure out, but they don't. But the board glows. Now, it doesn't glow like this. This is like, gamma radiation turning the kids into the Hulk type glowing. I never think it glowed that great, but we'd warm it up with lights. How you like put lights on it for like an hour before you played, and then you turn it and everything would glow. So anyway, this game, I actually still have it, have all the pieces. Used to play it with my kids. They loved it. And now I guess if I live long enough for my grandson to get too old enough to play this, we'll play it with him. But you can get this game for, if it was in mint condition, probably be about $300, but used condition, you still get about a $150 for this game. So it does have value. I'm a collector of everything, and I kept most of my board games. This was the one though, that was really, really cool. Luffy as God says, I love it when Aaron uses cool old board game painted in lead paint. Is that why you're slow, Lopez? That's right. You know, we learned many moons ago in school. Remember in school when they used to actually teach you stuff of value? We learned that like the early pilgrims were all eating on lead plates and lead silverware, and they all started losing their mind and stuff, and they finally realized that the lead was toxic, and they quit using lead in their plates and stuff. But that is interesting. It probably is full of lead paint. It's old enough, it might be. But anyway, there you go. That is a cool thing from the 70s that I like to call the Green Ghost game. And, you know, you guys need to have a appreciation for the classics. That's what I'm all about here. I am a classic myself, and you should appreciate me. Do you guys ever drink this? LaCroix? LaCroix? Or is it LaCroix? LaCroix? It's just carbonated water with like a little hint of flavor. It's like drinking soda without the sugar. My daughter got into it, and then pretty soon now we're buying it and drinking it. So I don't know. Yeah. Past Master Dan says it's an antique. It is. Hidden Hand Media says that's for yuppies. I like that Antique Lopresti with double A's. That's actually pretty clever. I like that. Let's all give him a round of applause. Do you guys think that's overacting? I think it's just right. Okay. So yeah. Now let me see. I got so many features here. I'm trying to make sure I don't want to do too many that are similar in a row. But they all revolve around comic books and art, so I guess they're all going to be similar. Let's do this one. We haven't. I've done this every once in a while, a couple times recently, but it's fascinating to me because I used to be. I was really uptight about people swiping. I still am, unless you're doing it obviously as a homage, paying tribute to something, and you're not trying to get away with anything. But for like doing interior panels and things like that, I have a real issue with that. It's like, draw your own comics, man. Don't rip off other people. Anyway, let's take a look at this week's Strange Coincidence. I don't know if this really fits into this category this week because I don't think this is a coincidence at all. How could it be with someone allegedly swiping themselves? But probably a lot of you guys are familiar with this. This is our good friend John Byrne. This is his epic run on Fantastic Four, right? That was 1982. There it is. I don't know who the guy is. That like Omac's Marvel Universe brother? So here you go. 249. Yeah, that's a pretty good cover. Everybody loves John Byrne, right? He was the artist of the 80s, or the mainstream artist of the 80s. But then he goes over and does Superman in the 90s. Oops. Wait a minute. Now, I'm not one to speak for John, and you certainly can swipe yourself. Who are you hurting? But I would suggest, let's look at these babies side by side. I would suggest that if you do this, you're being lazy. And so is it more important to produce good comics, or is it more important to get more comics done so you can make more money? And, depending on who you talk to, that might be a valid conversation. But he clearly, you couldn't argue that Byrne is like paying tribute to himself. I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe he was doing that. But to me, this is just like, oh yeah, I'll just use this and I'll trace this and maybe I ink it a little bit different here and there. Yeah, I don't know if did Byrne ink this or Carl Kiesel inked the insides, but did he ink this? That doesn't look like Carl Kiesel. My guess is that's Byrne inking himself. But like, it's not like he's even copying the pose. He clearly is tracing this. Like this leg is exactly the same. And then just kind of, changing the costume elements. And again, it's like if you're ripping off yourself, who's really to complain? But to me, it's just kind of lazy, I think. And Danke says he's done this more than twice, I believe. Yeah, I guess when you do as much work as Byrne did, especially in the 80s when he was really humming. I just find it kind of, like I said, the only thing I can criticize him for is being kind of lazy. Because let's face it, if you're getting paid to do a cover and you're getting a cover rate to do a cover, you should do a new cover. You shouldn't like just rip off yourself or anybody else. So, you have less work to do. I mean, I get it to a certain extent, but yeah. And I guess it's here. I guess it's easy for me to sit here and say, oh, you're being lazy. And I mean, we all taken shortcuts, here and there to meet deadlines and so forth. I don't know that I've ever taken a shortcut because I didn't want to draw something. I think anytime you take shortcuts, it's always been to meet a deadline. It's like, I got to get this done. So therefore I can't spend 10 hours on this page. I can only spend 4 hours on this page. And I've only spent 4 hours on this page. That means I'm not doing backgrounds or whatever, but there you go. So that's our episode, our segment of strange coincidences this week. Aaron Grumpy and Picky. It's my job to go through and find you guys the strange coincidences that happen in this very strange industry that we're all involved in, either as professionals or fans or both. So let's see. Well, there you go. Dale A says, steal from the best, I say. Yep. Although I hear what Aaron is saying, don't disagree. Okay, thank you. What if the job asks you to copy? Well, I mean, that's so. Okay. First of all, I think the chances that someone at DC said, "Hey, John, can you rip off that FF cover?" You did. I don't think that's what happened. But sometimes they will do that, and I had an instance where on Sludge number 1, Sludge crushes the front of a car, similarly to what happened in Swamp Thing number 1, where Swamp Thing crushes the hood of this car. Now, I don't know that that Steve Gerber was even thinking about Swamp Thing when he wrote it. because it was a bunch of street gang members in a car, and in order to stop them as they're driving towards him, he crushed the front of the car, right? But me being the rights and guy I am, I immediately thought of that page in Swamp Thing, and I'm like, all right, I am not going to rip that off, okay? Because I knew people were going to compare it anyway. So the one thing that was interesting thing is I didn't like about the rights and Swamp Thing page is it was from behind him, Swamp Thing. So we saw Swamp Thing from behind crushing the front of this car and the guy going through the windshield. And I thought, I want to see Swamp Thing. I don't want to see the car. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do on mine is I'm going to show it from behind the car. So we see Sludge from the front, smashing the front of the car, which I thought was a much better splash page. So I did it. And then I read in one of the Overstreet updates, because the comics industry was just going off the rails in the early 90s with the values going up and down like crazy, and hot books and all this kind of stuff. So they would do they would have like a weekly or monthly publication they'd put out, the Buyer's Guide Monthly, just to keep up with these changing values on these books. And so one of the things was in there that they listed Sludge #1, and they listed it and said that there was a Swamp Thing #1 swipe in this book. And I was furious because I went out of my way not to swipe it, right? And it was just a strange coincidence. And so I actually wrote him a letter and complained about them accusing me basically of swiping. And they were like, why are you so uptight, man? What do you care? And I did kind of feel silly after I stopped and thought about it. But I was like, so going out of my way to not swipe that image. And then they accused me of it anyway, that I lost my mind. And so anyway, I was like demanding an apology and all this crap. And they go, what are we supposed to apologize for? And I just said, and then they published my letter and called it Lopresti's Swipe Gripe in their letters page. And they didn't do the whole thing because that was a pretty long letter, but they just got the highlights of me, defending that I did not swipe Swamp Thing #1. So, it had me, did I write in all caps? I was yelling at him. I probably hand wrote it. What would I have done? Type it? We didn't have computers. This was like 92, 90. Oh, it would have been 93 because it was Sludge #1. So it would have been 93. I didn't have a computer in 93, did I? Maybe I did. I remember I used to be on CompuServe. You guys remember CompuServe? That was like the only sort of internet chat thing. Yeah. Oh God. Anyway. So yeah. So see, you're falsely accusing me of. You just don't understand the nuances of what I'm talking about, Dan. Hopefully that'll help clear up your head a little bit. Electric typewriter. Maybe. I never owned an electric typewriter. We had a manual one. I bet I typed it. I'll bet money I typed it on, the studio I worked in, they might have had an electric typewriter. I may have typed it in at that point. I'm sure I did. I wouldn't have handwritten it in crayon. You guys pissed me off. Some guy, 209, says, hey, Aaron, finally got to read Kit Carter over the holiday break. Question, what is supposed to be written on Captain Inaction's coffee cup? Was there supposed to be something on his coffee cup? Did I forget to put something in there? Is this one of those things where Stanley guy goes, hey, you know what? There's a soft cover, by the way. Captain Inaction is one of my favorite characters. Oh, let's see what's. Oh, it says I see, because you're only getting half of it. It says I love space is what it's supposed to say. Yeah, because you only see the I love spa on it, but it's, yeah, I love space is what is on his coffee cup. There's the scene in which he is speaking of. There's the coffee cup right there. And you can see it right there. So you can see how it says I love spa, but it's I love space. If you don't have a copy, go to my website. You can get one right now. Okay, Evil One for $2. Aaron isn't uptight about art and comics at all. I have certain things get under my skin, and I was never a big fan of swiping, unless you're doing it specifically to, like, you're paying tribute to a cover or something like that for a specific reason, like I did on Wraith of God Blood Hunters. I did the Tomb of Dracula #1 swipe, which was purely done to pay tribute to the great Neil Adams, and so things like that are so obvious that if you're not trying to get away with something, then you have to look and say, okay, well, why is he doing this? Well, he's doing it because he loved the cover, or it fits what he's doing, or he thought it would just be kind of fun retro kind of thing to do. And that is I think that's the only cover I've ever actually done a direct swipe on. But I have to go look back, but I think that's it. Show Me Comics says, here's an idea to extend your reach, invite guests on who have similar interests, but who are not in comic sphere, like crypto hunters, etc. If I invited when you say crypto hunters, I think you mean cryptid hunters, because I don't know if anybody's hunting cryptocurrency. Maybe they are, I don't know. But if I brought in cryptid people, we'd get in a fight. And maybe that would be good entertainment, I guess, because actually, no, I'm pretty nice to my guests. I don't make fun of them too much. But yeah, I have a real problem with cryptozoologists, who we all know is not a real thing. But anyway. He says, by the way, Kit Carter was great. Looking forward to the next book. Thank you very much, some guy. Darren Wagner. To see, Kit Carter reminded me a little of Nuka Girl from Fallout. That's why I initially bought it. I don't even know what that is. I have no clue what Nuka Girl from Fallout is. Fallout was that was like a mini, not a mini series, but an event, crossover event, wasn't it? I don't even know. Was it Marvel or DC? I don't even remember, but I have no idea who Nuka Girl is. Now Geek Avengers saying they do kind of look like each other. I have no idea. But yeah. So maybe I ripped off Nuka Girl and didn't even know it. Although I created Kit Carter 2011. So maybe they're ripping me off. Oh, Fallout, the video game, I think. Oh, I don't even know what that is. I don't play video games. It was a crappy TV series on Amazon. Seriously, if you've never seen Nuka Girls, look it up. Okay, well, why don't we look it up right now? Let's see what you guys are talking about. Oh. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, Bubble Helmet Space Girls are not exactly an original concept. So, okay, let me bring this. Oh, that's okay, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I got to find a better. Where is this? Okay. All right, here we go. Nuka Girl. I mean, they're blonde and they both have bubble helmets, but that's about the extent of it. Darren Wagner says, speaking of cryptids, Demifoot sign up on Indiegogo. So there you go. Darren Wagner apparently has a book coming out called Demifoot, or he's promoting somebody else. It's never good to text while doing a show, but I'm doing it. Okay, excellent. All right. Okay. People are always buying Christmas presents and they're like, hey, what about this? And hey, what about that? And I'm like, do you realize I'm doing a show with millions of people, thousands of people, hundreds of people, tens of people watching right now? I do not have time for this nonsense. Jaron Wagner says, Nuka Girl is an advertising character with the Fallout game. She sells Nuka Cola. Oh, okay. A lot of bubble helmet space chicks look similar, to be fair. That is, well, yeah, I mean, it's practically a trope at this point. Fishbowl helmets is old school before old school. Indeed, it was. I mean, this goes all the way back to the, probably to the pulps in the 20s and 30s, you know, and certainly, you know, there was a ton of them in the 50s, you know, sci-fi comics. So, Sergeant Giratina says, what do you do on this channel, Aaron Lopresti? Exactly what I'm doing right now. Nothing. But thank you for tuning in anyway. Leg kick for $2. Maybe invite Pete Samedi. He's a cryptid guy. Pete Samedi has been on this show at least twice, maybe 3 times. And I just told him he could come back on anytime he wanted to. Evil One for $10. Been watching the streams, but not in the chats, really. My dad is suffering from something similar to that Shelly had. My dad is my best friend, so been keeping to myself. I'll hit you up tomorrow. Okay. Well, I know your dad's had some health problems, so we certainly will be in our prayers. Now we're talking. Ooh, that would be good. Wraith of God versus Krampus. I like it. All right, you guys are taking me down a rabbit hole. Yeah, so what do I do on this channel? It's a variety show, a comic book variety show. And if you keep watching, you'll see what we do. But we do cryptid videos last. And then I usually cynically make fun of all the cryptid videos. One of the other things we do is Aaron's top 5. But we're not doing the top 5 because someone asked me to do my favorite covers throughout the decades. And so I'm not doing 5. I'm doing 8 to 10-ish covers that might come my favorites. So let's do that now. I don't have an intro for it because it's not top 5. It's simply favorite comic covers. So let's get rolling with that. King Size Avengers #2, King Size Special. It's got a great John Buscema cover on a black. I actually own this book in fairly high grade. It's a little harder because it's square bound and it's got a black cover, so all the dings and stuff showing it. But I love this this cover. Although Iron Man is bigger than Thor, and Thor is closer to us, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. And I don't know. I think Thor is going to wreck Captain America, and I think Hawkeye has no chance against Iron Man. Giant Man versus Goliath, or Giant Man versus Giant Man, pretty even fight there. And look how tiny the Hulk is. And the Black Panther, oh, dude, he's in so much trouble. But despite the size disparity, each of the drawings individually by themselves are awesome. So that's why I kind of dig it. But you might have been better off putting like the Hulk up here next to the Giant Man, and then maybe Cap and Thor down here and Iron Man below. But whatever. I still really like this cover, just because the character drawings are so good, even if their size relationship is kind of wonky. But I'm not throwing these covers up to be critical. I'm just throwing them up because I like them. Here's one. Probably not as iconic as it should be, but come on. This was Steranko's last cover. I think the last issue he did the interiors on was 5, so he didn't even do the interiors on this, but I think it was his last cover. This is awesome. So what do we got going on here? We got, again, a huge centralized figure with a planet exploding as he's out in space. I mean, what in the world is Nick Fury doing out in space? But I love this cover. It's very possible, JDC, that those characters were... I'd like to see the original art and see if there's any paste up on there, because they might have been individually drawn and then stuck on. It's hard to say without seeing the original, but that's very possible. But I don't know. I just think this is really kind of... And again, I mean, you can criticize Steranko's anatomy and stuff, but he's a guy that's very much about graphic design and stylization, necessarily more than being accurate. But I've always been a big Steranko fan. His use of shadow and light and his incredible design sense. And there's a lot of good covers that he's done over the years on this series, and of course when he was in Strange Tales. But this is probably my favorite. Yeah, Steranko is very based. Doesn't mind speaking his mind, which is always fun, especially at dinner. He tells amazing stories. This is probably pretty obvious, but this is Avengers number 4, the first appearance, Silver Age appearance of Captain America. And that's a little bit untrue, because he did appear in Strange Tales 114 when he fights the Human Torch, but it's really the acrobat dressed up as Captain America. This is actually the real Captain America, pulled from the ice and brought back to life by the Avengers, because they just happened to be tooling around in the Avengers sub and came across him floating, because Prince Namor, the Submariner, comes across these Eskimos who are worshiping. I didn't know that Eskimos were that superstitious, but they were worshiping the frozen Steve Rogers. It was frozen in this block of ice and was sitting there in this ice flow, and he was being worshipped. And of course, Submariner wanted the worship for himself, so he says, "Quit worshiping this inanimate dead guy," or whatever, and he throws it into the ocean. Now, the interesting thing is, the Submariner fought with Captain America during World War II, so it's kind of surprising he didn't recognize him. But anyway, he throws him into the water and into the warmer waters, and he starts to melt. And just luckily, the Avengers are coming by in their sub, which I didn't even know they had, and picked him up. So anyway, there's that. But it's a pretty iconic cover. So there you go. Let me see here. Let's move right along here. And we've got, and why is everybody calling me? Everybody should know that I'm doing this show, but they always forget. So I'm saying streaming right now. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, next on the old agenda is this classic. I also own this in a 9.2, just saying. I actually own Avengers 4 as well, not in a 9.2 though. I mean, come on. Buscema again, but classic. Classic in the very sense of the word classic. Looks like inked by, I don't think that's Joe Sinnott. That looks like that's George Klein, isn't it? Marcus Killigrew would know. No? What do I think? I'm telling you. Okay. All right. I have Buscema Artist Edition. This is huge on the inside. It's awesome. Henry Jeremek is agreeing with me. It's probably George Klein. Yep. Yeah, well, see, you got to scoot right in before Ethan starts streaming and steals my audience. So, I'm like substitute popular. I'm like the popular substitute teacher, but when the actual real teacher gets here, I'm out. Okay. Let's see here. Another Steranko gem. You guys will notice there's no DC comics because all the 60s covers from DC were horrible. Horrible, I'm telling you. There's a couple good Gil Kane ones in there, but not to this level. So I didn't include. But when we get to the 70s, there'll be some DC stuff. I don't own this, and I want to own this, but it got up really high during the COVID boom for comic collecting, and it hasn't really dropped significantly. It was like a $500 or $600 book. Now it's like a $1,500 book. I don't want to spend $1,500 for an inflated, book that should only be worth about $600 or $700. But man, classic. And of course, we all know the story. Do we know the story? The story is this is not the Steranko face. Okay. This is Maurice Severin doing a Hulk face, and then they pasted it over the top of Steranko's. So if you see the original art for this, you'll see that the face is different. And they just didn't like the face. I think they said it was too scary or something, and I don't know. I think it was kind of dumb. It was a tragic story. Like it says, I owned one, someone stole it. Oh, that sucks. I've never had any of my comic books stolen. Knock on wood. But yeah, this is on my hit list, but I haven't got it yet. How many times has this been homaged? Classic. Classic, I tell you. Now, this is interesting because out of all the new number ones from 1968, this is worth the most by a long shot. I mean, it's not even close. And yet every other issue of Iron Man is collecting, how would I say this? Collecting speaking? That doesn't sound right. But in terms of collecting, how's that? Every other issue is practically worthless. But this one, if you get a 9.2 of this, it's like $3,500, $3,600. It's like, and some of that goes to the popularity of the movie, and that really boosted this book when it came out in, what was that, 2008, was it? But I love the cover, the great Gene Colan cover. Just super dynamic, and it's like, wow, man, I want to get this issue. But it's just remarkable. Like the other one it's not even close, is Silver Surfer #1. And that whole series is worth money, but Iron Man isn't. The Hulk is probably the least. Well, that's not true. Probably Shield #1 is probably the least, or Captain Marvel #1 probably is. So it's a tie between Shield and Captain Marvel #1, but this, it's not even close. This is worth way more than all the other #1s that came out in 68. And yet you can have all the subsequent issues for a song. So I don't own this because I'm not paying that kind of money for this book, but I love it anyway. Well, it's worth a bit, but what I meant was that in terms of just collecting terms, like the second issue might be worth a couple $100, but in relatively speaking to the value of the first issue, it doesn't make any sense. The disparity is just incredible. Where like Captain America number 100 in 9.2 is about a $1,300 book. The second issue is, maybe 300 in near mint, but you have that same disparity, or because Iron Man's $3,000 and the second issue is like 200. It's like it doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, also Iron Man 55, first appearance of Thanos, or is it 54? One of those two is worth some money. All right, here's people may say, why are you picking this one? But I mean, it is a classic. This book has gone through the roof as well during COVID, and I've been kind of waiting for it to come back down so I can grab a copy. I just love the cover. I mean, it's a great iconic cover. It's not the first appearance of the Silver Surfer. That's issue 48 and 49, first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus, which are good covers. But I like this one better. Again, because it has a big figure, it draws your focal interest. You got that red in the background. You got the Watcher, the Fat Watcher back there. And I always like the big-headed Fat Watcher. So this is FF72. There's actually one on eBay right now that I think ends today. I wonder if I missed it. That would be tragic, wouldn't it, if I missed it? I don't know actually if it would be tragic, but I should check. I should check right now. I think I'm going to see what it's at. Oh, did I miss it? No, I didn't. Ends in 4 minutes. Woo. Wow. It's not graded, and seller does not accept returns, but it's in really nice shape. I better keep that open just in case I want to throw in a last minute bid. There I am. Let's go back and take a look at another Steranko one. Now, this one I do own. He did 3 issues of Captain America, and they're just classic. They are classic. 110, 111, and 113. They had in 112, they had to bring Kirby in to do like a was it the retelling of his origin or something? Because Steranko was behind. So you go 110, which is Cap fighting the Hulk, and it's the whole thing is this Hydra thing, right? Storyline. And then 111, he ends up faking his own death, and because he needs to regain. Everybody knows that Steve Rogers is Captain America, so he needs to fake his own death so he can regain his secret identity, right? And so then we go to 112, which is a recap of the origin with Kirby, and then we go back to 113, which is just a fantastic issue where he comes back from the dead. Everybody thinks he's dead, but then he reappears, and they think, oh, Steve Rogers was just a disguise. Who is he really? And then, Cap's got his secret identity back. But some great splash pages of him fighting Hydra. And this is also super iconic cover right there. Super, super iconic. Absolutely one of my faves. I just put a bid on that book. And I've already been outbid. Yeah. I don't know, man. Do I want to spend that much money on a book that isn't graded? And I don't know. Dangerous. No returns. What if the insides are missing? Okay. So this may be a surprise to you guys, but I really like this cover. I don't own this, but I'm kind of searching it out right now. It doesn't come, it's not a particularly collectible book. I just like the cover. So you don't see a lot of them up for sale because it's not really worth all that much. But I love that big image of Daredevil holding the scales. And then you've got Daredevil in the yellow costume, and a couple thugs shooting at him. Great work by Gene Colan. I have no idea who inked this. Lopez needs someone to riff with. Yeah. I always feel like when I have guests on, I have to entertain them. Like people come over to your house and they're like, you feel like, like you're always under pressure to keep them entertained or something. It's weird, but I do feel that way when I have guests. That's why I don't have guests as often as I probably should. And plus I'm lazy. It's like I don't even think about this show till Saturday night. And then I'm like, oh, I got a show tomorrow. I better get ready. And then I put the stuff together and it's too late to ask somebody to come on. But you heard me. I just asked Dave Ulbrich to come on next week. So we'll have Wavy Dave on next week, hopefully. Yeah, I know you're right. But because PayPal will give you a refund on anything if it's unsatisfactory. But there you go. Look at that. I love this cover, and I'm searching it out. I just think it's. I did collect Daredevil when I was a kid, but I never was never my super favorite. But there are a few covers that I really like. Evil One just bid it on that FF book. Not worth it now, dude. Should have saved that $2. This is about as classic as you can get. I had to have a Spider-Man cover in here, right? How about this one by Jazzy John Romita? What do you think of that? The book ended up going for $350, by the way, that Silver Surfer ungraded. Which is cheap, but for that book, but yeah, it's a lot of money to pay for something you don't know exactly what condition it's in. Okay. Bullet's coming back. Says you're legit, Aaron. Just think a little back and forth helped. It does. I'm not going to deny that. But is it enough to help me overcome my laziness? Probably not. Okay. So this, of course, is classic. And this also has the first appearance of Kingpin in it. So it's like super expensive. It's a super expensive book. So you have this classic cover and the first appearance of Kingpin. So what are you going to do? Now, at one time, I did own the entire run of Spider-Man. Well, 2 and up. And I had finished the collection. You kind of like, I was never going to get 1 or Amazing Fantasy 15. So there's no way I could have ever completed the collection. So I sold it. I sold the entire Spider-Man collection. So I don't have Spider-Mans anymore. I don't know if that was wise or not, but I did it. And John Porton's like, I believe in you, Lopez. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I see books like this. And I think, oh yeah, I used to own that. I wish I kind of still did. But then, I pour my interest into other things. And, I did, I run the gamut. I had all the issues of Spider-Man. I spent years collecting them, got them all. Then what do you do? When your collection's complete, you've read them all, they're all bagged and boarded. There they are. And you're like, so I sold it. And I think I used it to pay off something. Like we were doing a kitchen remodel, or it might have been my truck, something like that. So it went to good use. And I did make a ton of money on it because most of the issues I bought off the newsstand, or I bought them back in the 70s when they weren't that expensive. So my profit margin was really, really big on almost all the issues. So, but if I had hung on to it for another 10 years, it'd been worth more now. So, but there's always that. No matter when you sell a collectible, unless the bottom completely falls out of the market, it's always going to be worth more 10 years after you sell it. And you're going to be going, why did I sell that? All right, here we go. Number 1, one of the best covers of all time, not just the 60s, but of all time. It's Silver Surfer number 4. Yes, I do have a copy of this in about a 9.0. Very nice copy. And this is when Silver Surfer, like the first 7 issues were 25 centers. They were square bound and had extra long stories in them. So they were really cool. It didn't sell well, though. I mean, the series got canceled after 18 issues. It just didn't last probably because, well, I've told this story before, but I was sitting on the couch at Marvel outside the X-Men office talking to Chris Claremont. Is that just like a fanboy dream come true? Right. And we're talking about what we're going to do in Excalibur. And we started talking about the Silver Surfer for some reason. And I said, I never understood the Silver Surfer is such a popular character, but his series never sells well. And just then, Dan, what's his name? Publisher at, not DiDio, but Dan from Marvel. He's still the publisher. Somebody help me out. Anyway, he comes walking out of his office and he goes, the reason the Silver Surfer never sells is because he whines like a little girl all the time. And then he kept on walking. And so we all had to laugh about that. But and I think he was right. I mean, if you read this, if you go back and read these issues, they're insufferable. Stan just did not get the character. And he just was constantly whining and complaining about everything. And so it was really annoying. But oh my gosh, the artwork by Buscema in this series is incredible. I don't know if he does or not. I haven't talked to Chris in ages. But I will say this, working with him on Excalibur, he was very easy to work with. Very nice guy, very pleasant. I never had any issues with the guy at all. Who drew Excalibur? Well, like the third incarnation of it, not the good one, that Alan Davis did. No, not that one. The 90s Silver Surfer cartoon. Yeah, I mean, if you look at him, like in the first appearances in the FF, he was a much tougher character. And then he just became a wimp. And it was just like, God, I want to read about this guy. All he does is whine and complain. You're almost rooting for the bad guys in this series. But again, the artwork, outrageously good. Evil One says he asked Chris Claremont about it and he doesn't remember. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, so those are my favorite covers from the 60s. Next week, we'll do my favorite covers from the 70s, and they will include some DC efforts in there because Neil Adams did a few covers in the 60s that were interesting, but he really started kicking butt in the 70s. Green Arrow, Green Lantern, that was 1970, the first issue of that. And a lot of his great detective covers were all in the really early 70s. Bullets, like, what's your favorite cryptid? Well, that's a good question. It's between Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, probably Bigfoot. I'm actually a cryptozoologist. I'm self-proclaimed like every other cryptozoologist. So Bigfoot would be my favorite. We're going to be taking a look at Bigfoot videos here shortly, a little bit. Hang in there. But before that, I want to show you guys some of my artwork now because, well, it is my show, so why wouldn't I take time to self-promote? It seems like a logical thing to do. This is a little segment I like to call Now, the unfortunate thing here is my extra camera is not working again for some reason. I got to get a new cable. I just got to get a new cable. So I'm going to hold them up here. What you guys have not been seeing from me is art from Wraith of God 3 because I've been packaging Kit Carter books all the time. And so when you're doing that, and literally was doing it for 6 weeks, every day for 6 weeks, so you don't have time to draw and you're exhausted. You don't want to draw anyway. But now I'm back to drawing Kit Carter. I'm back to drawing Wraith of God 3. So I finished up page 1. So let me show you page 1. So this, in case you're unaware, speaking of swiping, that is the opening scene. The houses are different, but this is the opening scene from Walt Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So if you turn on that, you watch that animated movie, it'll open with this shot, and we have Ichabod Crane walking in the foreground down the hill towards the village or the town or the township. So I thought that might be a nice little kind of homage, since we're doing, or I should say, not even an homage, it's more of an Easter egg, right? Since we're doing Headless Horseman. So then we go a little deeper into the woods, and we have the witch's hovel here. That looks like something Plug might have drawn, don't you think? Kind of does. So then we got our witch in there. She has one shoe on and one shoe off. And she's mixing up some potion or something. Probably just dinner. And then we hear the creak. So the door is opening behind her, and she looks off panel. Right? So this is done. I'm going to get it colored, obviously, but the inking is done on it. All right. And then this is almost done, but I'll show you anyway. So this is who just walked in. This hooded character who we first introduced in Wraith of God Blood Hunters. He was in it for a couple pages, menacing the sheriff from the town in Arizona from Wraith of God 1. I did dress up his robe a little bit because he was just in a red kind of robe cloak thing in Blood Hunters. And I'm like, if that's going to be his costume, I need to jazz it up a little bit. So there's going to be like symbols and stuff on this trim. It's not going to be open like this. It's going to be symbols and stuff. But so he steps into the witch's hovel here, and I'll have this wrapped up by tomorrow and sent off to the colorist, and then I'll be able to post these on the campaign page. You know, this is interesting. I wish you could just do black and white, says Hidden Hand Media. The problem is there's like a few guys that are really, really into the art, right? And they want black and white editions, but there's not enough people that really want that to justify doing it. That's the problem. But I am tempted because I'm the same way. The black and white artwork is so different than the colored. But most people prefer the colored versions. Ooh, Greg Hindley said, my son had a rake outside his house in southern Alabama one night not too long ago, and had a rifle trained on it, looking through his scope about 60 feet away with his wife watching kids in the house. You wouldn't believe the things creeping around Alabama and Georgia. Cool art, Aaron. Thank you. That's an interesting story right there. Henry Jeremek, do you have any amazing? Yes, I do. I have the very first one with Neil Adams art. I do. And I have a couple others too, because Craig Russell took over and did a nice job in that series as well. But anyway, so there's the first two, and we'll be seeing a lot more coming up this week as now that I'm working full-time again on Wraith of God 3. Some of the stuff I wanted to show you too was some Kit Carter original art. Now these are bigger pages, as you can see, because the book was printed 11 by 14. So here's the Kit Carter, some black and white. Now these are inks not by me, but by Matt Ryan, who I worked with for years at Malibu and DC and Marvel. Probably my best inker. He inks like me, except better. Like he inks like I would ink if I was patient. Now he's a better inker than I am, but a lot of these pages I wouldn't sell, but this is probably one I would. And this is actually a really nice page. It's got a nice shot of Kit right here. Then another nice shot of Kit right here. You got Merv. It's a good page. Now, a couple that I won't sell, and when I do sell any Kit Carter original art, it's going to go up on my website, and I'll let everybody know. A couple I'm not selling, though, like this one. I love this page. I love her face in the top panel. I love the sound effect lettering as Schmagma is barfing lava at her. And then there's another Blargle. Love that. And then this shot of Kid I like as well. But it's like this face, this figure, and the sound effects on here. I just love it. So this will be staying with me. And another one I'm keeping is this. And it probably, you don't have to be a genius to figure out why. Yeah, it's this bird dude right here, this dinosaur. That's just it. I mean, there's some nice foliage down here. It's not a great kit page, obviously. This is decent here, but you got smaller figures, but that giant pterodactyl dinosaur bird thing is keeping it, baby. How fun that is. So anyway, that's a little bit of art out of my flat files that I wanted to share today. Leg Kick says, I think Kit Carter so far is your best story and art. Really nice. I love the art in Kit Carter. I really do. There's only like a couple panels I'm like, I don't like the way that face turned out or something like that. But for the most, I'm really happy with how it came out. And people seem to be digging the story. So, you never know with stuff like that because it is very silly and doesn't have the depth of a Wraith of God story, but it's very fun and entertaining. And most people have received it the way it was intended. So that's very gratifying and exciting. $20 confirmed. Yeah, Randy, gonna have to keep going. Add a few zeros, baby. So as a reminder, if you want to get back issues of Wraith of God, or you want to get back issues or you want to get the Kit Carter graphic novel, or the sketchbook, or the poster that went through the campaign, they're all available on my website right now at aaronlopresti.com. You'll find a link in the description of this video. So thank you very much. All righty. As we like to say, or I guess I should say, as the Muppets like to say.
Moving right along.
Right, we're moving right along. And now it's time for what's become one of my favorite little segments on the show. Mead Schaeffer. Who is Mead Schaeffer? Mead Schaeffer was born in Freedom Plains, New York in 1898. He was the son of a Presbyterian preacher, Charles Schaeffer, and his wife, Minnie Schaeffer. She wasn't short, her just name was Minnie. He grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Everybody, all these like classical illustrators, back in the day, in the golden age of illustration, they all were East Coasters. It's probably because that's where, the hub of illustration was and all the schools were. I guess it makes sense. We'll learn a little bit more about Mead here, but let me share this picture. The Life and Art of Mead Schaeffer. So I don't know how old this book is. I don't know if it's how expensive it is, but I think if you look on Amazon, you can get those questions answered if you're looking for a book on Mead Schaeffer. Now, Mead was quite good, in my opinion. This is so painterly. I love it. Look how thick this paint is on the Count of Monte Cristo's coat. Look at that. That is like thick. I mean, he's laying the paint down. Very intense face, eyes. I love that, like the shadow effect on his face. That was really nice. Look at the texture back here. These curtains. I really like this piece. Again, you have one centralized image. It's not too busy. Color work is awesome. Um, Now, Mead, when he first started, he was illustrating books and magazine stories, and he did a lot of like adventure stuff, pirates and pilgrims and all that kind of stuff. Look at this. Look at how chunky that paint is on here. Now, he reminds me a lot of this stuff does of Dean Cornwall and the other artists of that period of time. They were all doing like these Howard Pyle, that type of guys, were all doing these sort of pirate type illustration and stuff. Very painterly, which I love. I love seeing the texture, the actual medium that the guy's using. You can just see it on the canvas. It's not, they're not trying to be photorealists. They're trying to be painters and illustrators. And you can see that the illustration is great, but you can also see the texture of the paint, which becomes its own thing. Anyway, let's go back and read more about Mead Schaeffer. So after completing high school, he enrolled in the Pratt Institute in 1916. I wouldn't have liked to have lived back then because medicine sucked and there was no indoor plumbing. But man, to learn painting and illustration from those guys at that period of time that were teaching that stuff would have been incredible. So if I could like go back to the past, but bring like my own plumbing with me, then I might be okay with it. So his teachers at the Pratt Institute were Harvey Dunn and Charles Chapman, not Charlie Chaplin. It says Harvey Dunn critiqued many of Schaeffer's early projects while a student at Pratt. Schaeffer illustrated the first of 7 Golden Boy books written by L.P. Wyman. Mead was married in 1921. He and his wife, Elizabeth, also known as Minnie, were to be parents of 2 daughters. In 1922, at age 24, he was hired to illustrate a series of classic novels for publisher Dodd Mead. I wonder if they felt obligated since his name was Mead and they were Dodd Mead, maybe to hire him. His work for Dodd Mead continued until 1930, so in 8 years, he was illustrating books. And during that period, he illustrated Moby Dick, Taipei and Omu by Herman Melville, though, and The Count of Monte Cristo, which we just saw an illustration for, and Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. So he was working on some pretty classic stuff. And so there's this he had 2 phases to his career. Check out this picture of Lincoln here. He had 2 phases to his career. And one of them was this sort of heroic adventure, pirates, all those kind of things, right? Which is what we're going to be focusing on mostly because that's my favorite stuff. But then he started getting into more of a realistic, or should I say more less fantastic subject matter, more down to earth, everyday common man type illustrations, right? So in 1930, Schaeffer turned his attention from fictional characters, here exactly what I was talking about, to real people depicted in real settings. During the 1930s and 40s, he received commissions from magazines including Good Housekeeping, McCall's, Saturday Evening Post, Ladies' Home Journal, Country Gentleman. I'd like to get Country Gentleman magazine. Why don't they make Country Gentleman magazine now? What do you think that was? That like the precursor to not Better Homes and Gardens, but what was the mechanic Field and Stream? Is that like the precursor to Field and Stream or something? Was the Country Gentleman, and of course Cosmopolitan magazine. He produced 46 covers for the weekly Saturday Evening Post, and his work as a war correspondent for the Post during World War II resulted in a well-known series of covers illustrating American military personnel. He lived for a time in New Rochelle, New York, but for most of his career lived in Arlington, Vermont. where his studio was in a barn. That's my dream, having a studio in a barn. I'm not kidding. He was good friends with Norman Rockwell, and Schaeffer and his family often posed as models for Rockwell's Saturday Evening Post illustrations and paintings. He actually retired in Vermont, where Rockwell was a neighbor of his. He died in New York City from a heart attack on November 6, 1980. So you got this guy was born in 1898, lived to be until 1980. So he was 82 years old. So, I think a lot of those older painters lived longer than us comic book artists, probably because they weren't eating the same garbage we were eating, and probably got a little bit more exercise than we do. Look at this piece right here. Love it. Dramatic, painterly, almost, look at the sleeve on this jacket. It's almost Leyendecker-esque right in here. My goodness, who keeps buzzing me? This is just insane. But again, look at the brush strokes. We're always so, as comic book artists are so concerned about noodling and getting every detail right. These guys were just laying in color and shapes. That was just great. That hair is just chunky, just shapes. Love it. Love it. Oh, this is cool. It's kind of small. That'll work. This is very dramatic. Limited color palette here. Again, this would have been for another illustrated story. Look at the drama here. I don't know what the story is, obviously, but this woman, and look at her hair. I don't know if I can blow this up without it pixelating on me. Look at these chunky brush strokes in here, but still creates such great volume. Look at her skin tone. It's like the same color as the wall. I mean, she's just pasty white, and you don't even question it. Post Muckley is correct. It takes a lot of years painting to be comfy enough to paint fast and loose. Yep. My dad is 82. He's about to turn 83. Congratulations, man. My dad made it to 79. My mom, however, is still with us at 93 and doing really, really well. Let's take, this is more Leyendecker-y to me. I love it, though. It's a little bit sharper in some areas, but then look at her dress. Look at how loose that is. And he's creating these highlights and shapes. That's just crazy. I mean, this is just like these brush strokes here. It's like, what is he even doing, But he's creating, like, you've got these highlights here with the white, and then the secondary highlights that still help define the shape, but they're not as bright in these kind of like grayish areas here. I just, look what's going on over here in this and how loose this is. But look how sharp the faces are in contrast to how loose the fabric is. Beautiful drawing of this woman's face. Beautiful. And the hair again is nice and chunky. Look at this guy. He's looking for some action. And then, of course, the Asian servant there. And the difference in, look at the flesh tones here. That's one thing, it's like all my flesh tones in like a painting or something always end up like pretty much the same. And I'm like, I got to vary them more because their flesh tones vary so much. And he's dark and kind of brown. He, of course, is. My dog is just good playing old-fashioned fun. Anyway, if you look at the different flesh tones here, There's a lot of things to think about when you're doing a painting that, you know, we're oftentimes consumed with technique and not necessarily some of the broader stuff like color scheme or even just design. Look at this. What's another? You know, if they didn't deliver stuff on Sunday, I wouldn't have to endure this. Again, check out the limited palette here. Sorry about the dog. He'll stop in a minute. Obviously some sort of like Alaska adventure story or something. Look at this coat. I mean, what is going on there? That is just like done, and yet you totally buy it. Nice work on the, you know, the shadow areas here. Backlit, of course, by the fire, and these guys are front lit. And the back sky, just this kind of cool gray back there. And look at how he dry brushed the smoke, you know, so it's transparent. Look at the snow. This is just like globs of paint. And it's just, these guys really knew what they were doing. Box Top Comics for 20. Thank you very much. He goes, got my copy of Kit Carter, read through the first few pages, and the art is fantastic. Just had to pause and say thank you for the book. Hey, Box Top, thank you for supporting the book, and thank you for the super chat. That is awesome. Appreciate that. I know I missed a couple. Let me go back to Chocolate's Curry here for $10. Thank you, Angela. Aaron, I went to the comic book shop yesterday and got your Wonder Woman number 26. Do you remember what was the first book you did with Gail? The guy thought you retired, and I told him you're still making great books. Hail. Thank you. Yeah, I was retired by the industry, not by choice. The first issue I did with Gail wasn't 20, wasn't it like 20 or 23? I mean, I know the cover. You're going to make me look it up. Captain Bitpo says that's not snow, it's cotton for their ears when the woman starts complaining. That's good. Ooh, look at this one. Oh my gosh, I love this one. While you guys are looking at this one in awe, I will look at that. Look at that. So you go all blue, monochromatic in this background. You're all gray in the foreground. Just what an interesting choice to put a little color back here instead of here. These are all cool grays, of course, so they work really nicely with the blue, but to go black and white with your main figures and then put the blue in the background. And look at her little mask she has on. I mean, I suppose that shadow, it reads like a mask though, doesn't it? Like they're like masked Avengers, you know, colonial masked Avengers. Ooh, that'd be an interesting story, wouldn't it? Wasn't the that Disney movie, The Scarecrow of Someplace Marsh, that was during colonial times, wasn't it? Where the guy wore the scarecrow mask and that was pretty cool. I remember watching that as a kid and I loved it. But look at this. Look at the hair here on the dude. Brushstroke, 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 bump, 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 done. And yet it reads so well. And look at the shirt here. Blah, 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 blah. And down here on her dress. God, I love this. But you know what? The drawing is so good that you can be loose with your painting and have it still be really, really effective. Samore, I guess. Dude in the foreground looks a bit like Henry Cavill. Does kind of, doesn't he? There you go, Waylon Todd. It's why I like this chat. I learned from Aaron. This is a cool, relaxed stream. Thank you. And I, you know, I'm pretty relaxed myself. I might fall asleep. Isn't that called Harley Quinn? She might be wearing a Harley Quinn mask because that's too intense for shadows, isn't it? So she could be like, they went to a ball or something And she's wearing the Harley Quinn mask. That makes sense to me. I like it. What has she got in her hand, though? She has a gloved hand. She's holding something, but I'm not sure what. A key? I thought maybe it was a gun, but it's not. She's got something that obviously is hiding from these dudes. I wonder. It makes me want to read the story, doesn't it? Oh, wait a minute. First female Zorro, perhaps. Now, Geeky's is saying, is it a cigarette? It might be. Interesting. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, and the water, this is all water right in here. And this is reflection down here in the water. This is really, really nice. I really love this piece. Like if I had a lot of money, and because I don't know what his stuff goes for, but I'm sure it goes for tens of thousands of dollars anyway, I'd buy this piece. I mean, I love it that much. I could look at it all day. Let's zoom back out and take a look at the whole piece in its entirety. That is really, really nice. I'm looking really quickly for the first issue of Wonder Woman I did with Gail was 20, issue number 20, Ends of the Earth, which still really ticks me off because I designed these like multiple Wonder Womans, like costumes. And I thought, surely they'll turn these into action figures. They never did. What am I talking about? We're going to take a break from Mead here just a minute. So this is the first issue I did with Gail. First work I did with Gail was on this issue of Wonder Woman. And so there's like medieval Wonder Woman, Viking Wonder Woman, and then barbarian Wonder Woman. Why were these not action figures? These would have sold. And I would have got a little, little something for the effort. But no, nothing. Anyway, there you go, Angela. That answers your question. Wonder Woman 20 is the correct answer. Now, back to our buddy Mead Schaeffer. Okay, I wanted to show you just a couple more pieces because these are more of his, I don't know if I'm going to call it realistic stage, but when he was doing real people in real situations, it's still a great painting, but it's kind of like, who cares? I mean, I love the ones with the drama in them. And this is, a little bit humorous here. A guy trying to, all the fish jumping around. And this, I think, was a Saturday Evening Post cover or piece for a Saturday Evening Post. I mean, it's an excellent painting, but without that drama, without that comic book drama, I'm left a little cold with it, to be honest with you. And then look at this. This is, I mean, again, it's an excellent painting, but without that element of the fantastic or fantasy in it, it's just a well done, well executed slice of life painting, which any number of artists were doing at that period of time. And so it doesn't really stand out to me. Whereas some of the other more dramatic pieces that we were looking at previously did. So, I prefer his earlier period, when he was illustrating fictional stories and pirates and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's, you look at stuff like this and you say, that's why we're comic book artists, right? Is because we enjoy the drama, the melodrama, not just drama, but melodrama, the fantastic, the fantasy, the imaginative reality as opposed to actual reality, the heightened reality. And but for some reason, that stuff is not taken as seriously by fine artists anyway as stuff like this, which I find this to be an interesting, well done piece, but ultimately boring. And I would much rather have the more interesting, dramatic pieces we looked at earlier. And but again, that's a good question. To prefer drama over whimsy. What's the old saying? Drama is easy, comedy is hard. If you look at most, with the exception of Jim Carrey, most comedic actors are pretty good dramatic actors. Even Bill Murray, who you never would have thought would have been someone that could pull off a drama, does pretty well. And it took him a little bit to kind of get there, but funny, incredibly funny guy, but a good, in a quirky dramatic role, he's really, really good. Charlie Chaplin was an excellent actor. But what do I prefer? I don't know. I have a sense of humor. But I feel like, if you look at the stuff I've done, Power Cubed is obviously a humor adventure strip. Kit Carter's humorous adventure. Wraith of God, deadly serious. Metamorpho miniseries, very serious. Garbage Man, very serious. It's easier to me to get out morality tales and, drama than to try and work them into something comedic. I tend to be I have very oddball sense of humor. So my humor tends to be very goofy and very strange and doesn't really fit with if I've got something I want to say. Generally, I'm better off doing that in a drama. So it depends on, I probably prefer drama. It just has a little more depth to it. I feel like I'm contributing more. But I do enjoy a good laugh. And Kit Carter was that sort of take a break from the heavy drama of Wraith of God. Do Kit Carter. It was more enjoyable, fun, sort of loose, nothing at stake, except a good time, and so I go either way, but probably I go with the heavy drama as long as there's adventure tied to it, not, I'm able to put more at stake, I think. Leg Kick says, you do humor pretty well, Aaron. Thank you. And I think if I do it just enough, but not too much, it won't get old. So that's probably the best way to approach it. So anyway, that is the story of Mead Schaeffer, classic illustrator, did some really, really fine work. And we took a moment to take a look at him. But now, folks, we're at the 2-hour mark, which means this show is winding down, but it's never complete unless I can make fun of cryptid videos. We have our largest audience participation at the moment. So you guys, let me remind you all, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. And also, please be reminded that I do have a campaign called Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow. You'll find a link in the description of this video. It is the third in a ongoing series of graphic novels featuring the Western superhero and monster hunter, the Wraith. And also, if you're looking for back issues or prints, go to my website store. You'll find a link in the description of this video as well for that. Now let's get on with some pretty, well, I'm not going to say they're not all lame. This is actually kind of interesting. It's not a video. It's allegedly a trail cam photo of a guy we haven't seen a lot of. We haven't spent a lot of time on this show looking at, but how about the Dogman? which to me is basically a werewolf, right? But here we go. This is allegedly a trail cam photo of the Dogman eating something. We'll assume that whatever he's eating is right down here. I've got to admit, I think this is pretty good. Now, I think it's fake. I think it's probably CGI or something, done in the computer, but I think it's done pretty well. I'm not sure exactly what he's got in his mouth, what he's eating here. But I think it, now granted, someone's suggesting it looks like a still from a werewolf movie, and it very easily could be. Someone found a photo and then just, worked it in here, grained it up a little bit so it fits, but, because it's actually a pretty good design. I really like the design of this creature, this Dogman, off the trail cam video here. But he's eating bacon. What's he got there? And there's something dead here. But look at the paw, the hand. It's pretty good. Daryl Wayne is saying Dogman has paws, werewolves have claws. See the difference? Well, if either of them was real, you could make that statement. But since neither of them is real that I've been proven to, then I think you could do it any way you wanted to. But so are you saying would you say these are paws? I think they are. So this would confirm that this is actually a Dogman. Andy says he's eating entrails. Okay. Randy also says that's John Malin at a campsite. Evil One says once makes me want to watch a werewolf movie. Why can't they do werewolf movies with werewolves this cool? I agree. There's some out there that have pretty good werewolves, but a lot of them are lame. It's like, come on, man. I love this. 80s Sojourner says Dogman, he's his own best friend. That's pretty good. I like that. Henry Jeremick says that's a Wrightson style werewolf. Indeed, it is. Very cool. So you turn this photo into my cryptid class. I'm giving you an A on this. I really like the way this looks. And if I was gullible, I would fall for it. But I'm not gullible, so therefore I'm cynical. So therefore I'm going to doubt the reality of this. Because if it was like dogmen and wolfmen running around the woods, there'd be a lot of hiking victims, I think, that we're just not hearing about. But I do love this piece. So there you go. Now, this is a bit of a stretch. I call this the little dog man. This is a photo apparently taken out of the back of somebody's truck or car as they're getting away. I'm not really sure what we're looking at here. This is the head. If this is real, it could be a fox. It could be a raccoon. It could be a lot of things. Right? I mean, his paws are right here. Isn't that what you guys are seeing? I mean, the guy that I stole this video from was suggesting that he's like really tall and lean and standing here, but I don't see that. It looks like a little, fox or something jumping out of a tree or something. I mean, I don't know. You guys, maybe you see it differently. Like, what's going on? Has he got a hold of a string here? Has he pulled a string? Daryl Wayne says the Dogman just humps legs. It never kills. Fane Lowlife says that is, or Fallen Lowlife, excuse me. I always do that. Fallen Lowlife says that is a bear. This is allegedly a picture out of the back of their car. It looks like a cub or something. It doesn't look like some sort of werewolf or anything. It looks like a little cub or a badger or something like that. There would be a small kind of animal like that. So I don't think this is all that creepy. I like that. Sean Allen says, is that a bear playing golf? I think we're on to something now. James is not impressed at all. His stuffed animals don't cut it. I mean, he's got the, the mouth open here, the jaws and everything. I think you could convince me this is real, but you couldn't convince me it's anything other than just a animal that we would see in the woods. So I don't know. I like the bear playing golf, though. I think that you might be onto something there. That's a bear. Everybody's saying that's a werebear, perhaps. Dog on a stick, says Henry Jeremick. That's a possibility. But I'm not convinced it's even close to a cryptid. Now this I call lame Dogman, and you will see why in a moment. There's guys that have these cryptid channels, and they do really well in terms of your views and likes and stuff. But they sit there and try and gaslight you so badly, like that you're not seeing what you're seeing, right? Well, this is clearly a this, and it's clearly a that, and no human could this, and you're just like, this is such a fake photo that the fact that you're not even addressing the possibility that, it doesn't even look good. Come on, man. I hate to be Joe Biden, but come on, man. What are we even looking at here? Look at how soft and blurry this is around here. This is clearly put in after the fact. And it's not very well done. You're failing my class if you bring this in. Henry Jeremick says very weak. Pastmaster Dan says that's Possum Boy. Looks like a possum. A man bear pig, says Spaceman. See, there's Captain Bipto. Perhaps it's a Grinch. Okay. It is Christmas time, so that's possible. Could it be Kelsey? Could Kelsey have anything to do with this? I don't know. It's just like, dude, if you're going to give me like bad, blurry stills, you got to do a better job than this. This is just, it's not good. So that's my lame Dogman video. All right. Now this, speaking of rakes, which we had a earlier person in the chat was saying that their son saw one of these in Alabama and was going to shoot it. This is a rake. Now you guys have to look closely. This guy speaking in foreign language. So it's South American. And why this thing is by a public garbage can, I have no idea. Now, the problem you'll see with this is, you see that creature right there, whatever it is, right? You've got about 2 seconds of video and they're just running it in a loop, right? So why isn't this video longer? I'll tell you why. Because they shot this video and then they animated that in there. That's why. It's so blurry you can't see anything, which is a key sign of fakiness. But I do like the concept, though, of this rake thing coming out of the ground. It's like out of the grave, except why is he by a trash can? He's stuck in the ground by a trash can. But you can see his face, his mouth right there, and his eyes, and his arm. That's his arm lifting up, I guess. You'd think he'd be screeching, but there was no sound on the video. Captain Bipto says South American crackhead. That's possible. Frat party refugee. Yeah, if you're drunk out for a party and you just puked in the garbage can outside, that makes sense. But there you go. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea. I'm not sure. I don't know if I like the garbage can being there. Some creepy howling or something might have been nice to go with the video to kind of sell it, but also just like a 2-second loop. Come on. If this thing is trapped in the ground or coming out of the ground, I know if it was real, you might be scared or whatever, but I need more than 2 seconds. Come on, man. Anyway, South American rake. Now this is a night rake. You guys tell me what you think of this. or a rake at night, perhaps, would be a better way to describe it. Why is it all the way here? Now, this did have some interesting audio. Maybe I should play it. Probably can't hear it. It's not very loud. But weird screeching. Okay, so where are we at? We're right... God, this is terribly blurry. But supposedly clinging to this tree, right? You see that white thing there? And there you can kind of see his arm right there. So it bends back. It's sort of clinging to this tree. So that's his arm right there. That's his elbow, I guess. His head's right there. So I guess he's clinging to this tree, screeching at the guy with the camera. Now, of course, this begs the question, what is a guy doing out in the middle of the woods in pitch black? I mean, what are you doing out there? Unless you're staging something like this. Or getting some photography that you can then digitally add a screeching rake in. I mean, even when it moves, it doesn't really hold together. So it just is like a blob. It's not even good, good effects. James says, new concept, Rake of God. Pantheon send that is, I'm sorry. Pantheon says, looks like a frat boy to me in a drunken stupor throwing up. Maybe. Don't judge, Aaron. Maybe they live out in the woods. Well, okay. The people with the camera allegedly live in the woods. But if you heard like strange noises and you're going out in the woods with your camera in the middle of the night, pitch dark, I mean, because the only light on him, I assume, is, well, maybe that's a flashlight. You'd have your gun, wouldn't you? And I would just blow this thing away and ask questions later. Well, Whalen taught his I mean, you do have some logic there. He's like, now you just can't win. Take a camera. Why'd you take a camera? You have a camera. Why'd you have a camera? Why didn't you have a camera? Yeah. I mean, that's true. My question was not that he had a camera with him. The question is, what are you doing walking around in pitch black in the middle of the woods? That's what I want to know. Maybe they're camping. I don't know. But I got to say this, Wayland, I want better photography. I want clearer shots of these creatures. That's what I want, and I'm not getting it. And so therefore, how can I be anything but cynical? He does have a creepy, weird arm right there, though. Well, interesting. But there you have it. Those are our cryptid videos for this week. And Show Me Comics said, I've seen bobcats and possibly black bears near me. Okay. Apparently people are generally bad picture takers. It's true. Whalen Todd, he's defending this. Now he's making an argument. I camp with dudes, go for a walk. It's scary. Well, yeah, it is. Dale A says, why does this stream keep crashing for me? I've done all I can for you, man. Dale, I've done all I can for you. Yeah, Geek, I saw that. Maybe I'll bring that on next week. But I don't know if Bigfoot playing a saxophone is something that really is a believable. Guys are picking on Waylon Todd. Now Waylon, he might be a true believer. He's putting up some decent arguments here. Darkside Darren says most countries in South America don't have a gun rights like we do. Well, this rake thing was in the U.S. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So there's I've stirred up the chat a little bit with this stuff. Ella Campbell says, thanks a lot, Mr. LaPresti. That was so informational, and I learned a lot about werewolves, cryptids, and 1960s comic covers. Ella, of course, is a friend of my daughter's, and she's expecting an educational experience when she tunes into this show. And that's why this is kind of like the Carol Burnett show of YouTube. This is a variety show. We have a lot of different subject matters, and we're here for you and your educational needs. So thank you, Ella, for joining us once again. I'll be seeing you and my daughter later this week as I go down to visit the campus to watch their dance recital. Oh, wait a minute. Waylon Todd says, about to show the witches' caves next time where I live on my YouTube channel. Okay. He's about to show the witches' caves next to where I live on my YouTube channel. Okay, I wouldn't mind seeing that. So what's your YouTube, Waylon? Is it Waylon Todd, or do you have a different name for it? Henry Jeremick says, 1970s comic covers, please put some Marvel Gil Kane in. Oh, Henry, look who you're talking to. Of course, I'm going to put Gil Kane in there. Elon, please show us Sasquatch. If I could find any decent ones, I would. We've gone through so many Sasquatch videos. You have to come in every week, Evil One. I know you're busy, but we have gone through like the majority of Sasquatch videos that are out there. I'm always looking for new ones, but if I can't find Sasquatch, then I'm looking for any cryptid I can find. And there's always a few creeping up that are let's see here. Oh, Aaron, he's talking about the one I sent you. Oh, you guys are so demanding. You're like David Williams on Graybeards. David Williams sends me stuff and Twitter. Okay, there's the Space Girl thing. Where's that video at? Trucker's dash camera records image of large. Is that the one? Let's see. I think we've seen this. See, you guys think you're sending me stuff we haven't shown on the show, but you're not. Let's see here. Got it. Okay. Here we go. Let's take a look. I'll put the yeah, I haven't seen anything yet. What in the... This right here? Still, we're getting a 360 panorama here, but I'm not. Geek Avenger says that's not the one I sent you. It is the one you sent me because you sent it to me in my my messages. So where did we see the Sasquatch? Oh, guy's running, but what's he running from? It. This better have a payoff. Has anybody seen anything at this point? Except that guy running in front of the camera? Dale A says he saw the Sasquatch. I didn't. Was it in the trees? Wow, that's whoo. Says look up Better Off Alone by Sasquatch on YouTube. Sax Squash. Yeah, this is one where he's playing the saxophone, right? Oh, Stormtrooper Julian Caesar says when he turns left. Yeah, I thought I might have seen something in the trees there, but dude, I'm telling you, that was the one you messaged me. Killing Mom. Okay, no. No, it's not loading. All right, well, I'll dig it up for next week. And we shall see what we shall see. But that was, sorry, that was a little disappointing. Anyway, guys, that is, he says just now, it's not there. I'm telling you, okay. All right. There it is now. All right. It wasn't loaded yet. This had better be good. I could be eating dinner right now. All right. Where is it? Okay. I've got a Deadpool commercial running right now. All right. Here we go. Let's skip this ad. See, I knew you were going to do this to me. Look at his hands. Come on, man. Oh, yeah, okay. I think we've seen enough of that. Oh man, no, we had people over for like 3 days straight. We don't even have any leftovers. That's response to Dark Side. Darren, need my fourth helping of Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, that was like see when I let you guys contribute to the show, that's what I get. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't play the sound. That's how you get struck on YouTube, is when you rip off other people's videos and you play the sound, they nail you. So that's how you do it, is you don't play the sound and you get away with it. So I provide the sound for you. All right, guys, that is all I've got for today. I think it was a pretty jam-packed show. I feel pretty good about myself, actually. We've gone almost 2.5 hours. We got over 300 people watching. Appreciate it very much, you guys. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for your conversation in the chat. It helps the show, obviously. And I would, again, please hit the like and subscribe. Please visit my campaign on Indiegogo, Wraith of God 3, Fear Hollow, or my website for back issues and prints. You'll find links in the description of this video for both. Thank you all again for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And we'll see you right here next time on Aaron Live, hopefully with Dave Olbrich. So there you go. See you next time. Peace. Sorry, I was just reading the last super chats. Peace. Is it ever going to end? I don't know. It doesn't seem to want